morning, everyone. Thank you so much to Live Healthy for inviting us. Thank you to The Bridge for having us. And thank you, everybody, for being here today. I'm so happy to be having this conversation with a good friend of mine, Susie. And I think we can get started by first defining what are supplements, right? I think it sounds like the obvious.
Perfect.
But I think if we can kind of dig deeper, and yeah, we can take it from there.
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you, Farah. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks, everybody, for being here. So this is going to be really interactive and casual. So please do throw your questions at us. We're here to support you, to answer these questions. And we want to demystify, as we always say, demystify nutrition and all the crazy information that's out there. There's a plethora of information. And so what's right and what is false. So that's hopefully where we're going to get you guys. So how do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, so I think we can dig right in and talk about what are supplements. So, you know, you go into the supermarket, you go into the pharmacy, you go on social media, and they just pop up, right? And you see a variety, you get overwhelmed, you get lost, and then you ask a friend, or somebody comes up to you and starts suggesting all different kinds of supplements, thinking they know what you want, and all of a sudden, you've got five to 10 different supplements and you have no idea how to take them and what to do. First of all, we can say that supplements can be divided into nutrients. So for example, protein, amino acids, vitamins, minerals, multivitamins. You've got hormones, for example, melatonin, DHEA, and then you've got herbals and botanicals. So things like ashwagandha, berberine, holy basil, and a lot more. So obviously they each have different purposes. It's also important to know that, let's say, if you were to reach out for a vitamin D or a magnesium, there are different forms. They come in different dosages. So, and of course, all sorts of different brands. And it's also important to know, right, that these, I mean, let's say in the US or even here in the UAE, they are not necessarily regulated like medications are. So they tend to be seen as, let's say, food products. There are certain practices, let's say, that highlight the importance of, for example, how are they manufactured, transported, stored, any recalls. So there are certain guidelines, but they don't go through the rigorous testing like medications and drugs do. So, you know, that's what makes them a bit tricky. Yes, very effective, but if you go for the right kind, let's say the right brand, you know, it can make a world of a difference, I think.
Agreed. I completely agree. Actually, if I can just get a show of hands, who uses any supplements? All right, nice. And so have you also, may I just ask you to tell me, have you guys, how have you done your due diligence regarding these supplements? As Farah was saying, you know, how have you looked into it? Is it just because you saw an ad pop up or a friend had suggested it to you? Anybody want to shout anything out? Go on. Blood test. Okay, well, that's really good. Boom, she wins.
Fine.
Blood test. That's awesome. Yep. Amazing. And so I'm going to just guess that this was suggested or recommended to you by your physician. Yes? Now, it's really, really, really important to highlight the form of the supplement that's being given. So, for example, a very common mistake that we see is people are given, you know, oh, you need a folic acid, right? We've heard this before. Doesn't sound like there's anything wrong with that. Sure, you know, you need folic acid. But actually, that is not the form of folate, of that B vitamin that your body is able to utilize. So it's really, really important to highlight that what you get off the shelf in the supermarkets or in pharmacies is very often not a good kind. There's one brand that I'm not going to mention the name, but it's got a circle and it's colorful and starts with a C. That brand, for example, has many fillers that are actually cancer-causing agents. Imagine you're taking a supplement in order to improve your health. However, you're bringing into your body these ingredients that are actually detrimental to your health. So it is absolutely important to know the form of the vitamin or mineral, and also what are the other additional ingredients that are present in that supplement, because you don't want to, by helping yourself, you don't want to hurt yourself accidentally.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the word supplement is it's there to supplement your diet. We always want to promote a food first approach, okay? But then you get so many people say, but why are you taking all these supplements? We never used to take supplements. I'm fine. I'm feeling perfectly normal and I'm healthy. And unfortunately, it's really the quality of the food we eat is different. The soil is different. Agricultural practices are different. We could both be eating the same diet, but my, let's say, digestive and absorptive capacity is not as good as, let's say, as yours. So, and we're bombarded with so many factors, let's say environmental factors, that could also increase our need for extra nutrients. Okay, so it's important to understand why you're taking them, but also I wanted to touch upon a point where, and this is how we were traditionally trained and educated, is you only need a supplement if you have a deficiency. Right. If you're low in vitamin D or iron or whatnot, then that's when you take a supplement. But nowadays we know, and again, based on the scientific literature, that you can take supplements to optimize your health, longevity, to, of course, boost your fitness. Obviously, if you're pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, a lot of medications, if you're on the birth control pill, if you are on, for example, certain statins that can deplete nutrients. So being on certain medications, antidepressants, can deplete nutrients in the long term. So this is where we have to compensate for certain nutrients. So it's important that we don't, the doctor will always be quite conservative, I think. And if they see it on paper that you're low in iron, then that's when they're going to recommend iron. But if you take, let's say, berberine, and tell them, but I've read that this helps control blood sugar levels, they're like, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But you can take the metformin, that's, that's for sure. So but there is a lot of research to show that it is effective. For example, berberine in controlling blood sugar levels. So your doctor will always be quite conservative when it comes to recommending supplements, whereas more maybe an integrative or functional medicine practitioner and naturopathic doctors, they are more likely to be a bit more liberal and give you what you need based on an in-depth assessment. So again, keep in mind that your doctor is of course going to help you, but might not help you so much when it comes to recommending supplements.
Yeah, I actually want to echo what you're saying, Farah, and just really highlight that no matter what supplement you take, no matter how amazing that supplement is, if you are your environment, the soup that your body is living in, if your nutrition isn't right, if your sleep isn't right, if your exercise isn't right, if your social heart connections aren't there, your rest, your hydration, if all of these main pillars of health, if they are not present, then no matter it doesn't matter what supplement you're taking. It's going to do very little in assisting and taking you to that other place that you want. So supplements are actually really powerful compounds, and they can be, there's so many different categories of them, but it's really important to work on the foundation. Our foundation is so critical. And then beyond that's how we then build, all right, I'm looking for more energy. After you investigate all the other reasons that you might not have the energy that you're looking for, and then we can add certain ingredients that might stimulate that and offer you the right kind of energy. So this is really, really important. And I like to use the analogy of that fish living in a fish bowl where it gets murky, the water gets murky, and the fish begins to kind of not really swim very well. So what do? Do we drop in some supplements for that fish to feel better, or do we change the water? Absolutely, we change the water. And that's the environment, that's the soup that we live in. So we really need to look at it that way. And those supplements, though, are incredible, can be incredible and can be detrimental, but there's a lot that can be done to improve. I don't know if you want to get into
I agree with you, because we always say you can't supplement your way out of a poor diet or lack of exercise or poor sleep habits. So definitely it's not the one pill that will fix everything.
Yes.
We need to dig deep and really understand what changes can we incorporate gradually, but on a daily basis to get to where we want to be.
Yeah, there's no one pill for every
if
ill.
Only,
and the magic pill. We all want that magic pill. Do we have any questions that we can start with? Or anything about something that you might be taking that you want to share or ask about?
Can I just ask one question?
Yes, sure, of course.
because I also
Don't stop.
asking questions.
We like questions.
But if you talk to a lot of doctors, they'll say, "Oh, you just don't even you just pee them out." Like that's the thing that people always say.
You just what? I didn't
pee them out. Like they
Oh,
don't
okay,
even
right,
go in
right,
the
right.
body. Like that's the dismissive thing about supplements. I never know how to answer it because that doesn't seem to be true.
You do pee out a big portion of it.
Yeah, but like, could you have any insight into how that works and how you can argue with someone when they tell you that?
Yeah, I think they will always be very conservative about it, right? So it's the same way you take medications, for example, and your body will
Take what it needs.
take what
Yes.
it needs and then, be metabolized, let's say, by the liver. It's the same with supplements.
Yeah.
Now, I've had several, let's say, clients who have taken iron or B12 for 1 whole year and still saw no changes in their blood tests. And that to me is an indicator as to what's going on in the gut. Why is this person not absorbing this iron? So in that case, that person might need IV iron. And then there's a lot of now IV nutrition therapies and whatnot, which is also trending. You find, supplements come in all different forms, whether it's powder, pill, capsule, liquid, like a liposomal form. So some are more bioavailable than others. But, the body, if you do take, let's say, excess B vitamins, you might freak out when you see your yellow urine.
Fluorescent.
Fluorescent yellow. But, your body will take what it needs. But again, it could depend. That's where blood tests can come in handy if you are taking vitamin D, etc., to boost your levels if you were deficient. And then that could show that actually my levels are increasing. If they're not, then you have to dig deep and understand why are you not absorbing it if you're taking it on a daily basis. And sometimes, vitamin D is, you can get toxicity from some supplements. So if you do take vitamin D, even though you're deficient, if you're taking too much, then that can cause toxicity, short-term and long-term. And also I'm not a fan, especially since we're on the topic of vitamin D, a lot of doctors tell the individual to take a big dose of 50,000 per week or per 2 weeks. Your body can't absorb such big doses. So if you take smaller doses, let's say 5,000 a day, you're better off.
Yes,
So-
and you need to have it with K2
Yes.
as well to assist in absorption. And we got to make sure that if we need vitamin D, we have to make sure our magnesium stores are there. Without magnesium, we're not able to absorb vitamin D. And while we're on the vitamin D topic, guys, the best way to get it is through sun exposure, because our skin manufactures vitamin D. So it's actually the best way to get vitamin D into our body. And I just want to say something it's funny but not funny. Very often I see with my clients that while I'm trying to get them to take a supplement, and I don't push supplements necessarily just haphazardly. There's a reason behind it. And then suddenly, and I made an Instagram post about this because it was like, oh my God, I'm seeing this all the time. They will start saying, ooh, what's this magnesium for? I don't want to take unnecessary pills. And by all means, I love that. I want you to be a detective. I want you to really scrutinize and understand why you're taking something and what your body requires. However, the same individual would be taking 2 or 3 different kinds of medications that have a long list of side effects that they never questioned. So taking painkillers, easy. No problem. We'll take painkillers. Antacids? Sure, I'll take antacids. I won't think about it. But the nutritionist suggested magnesium. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? So we have to re-educate ourselves. The pharmaceutical industry is a very powerful industry. And again, we're not dissing it, like there's it saves lives for people that need it. But this should be the final resort, But when we walk into a doctor's office and in that 10 minutes, if we're prescribed from, a blood test, you have high blood pressure or you have elevated markers of cholesterol or triglycerides, nobody ever talks about the value of your lifestyle and how powerful that is in adjusting and changing your life. You can change so much of your life just through lifestyle, but nobody tells you that, or they skim over it. Oh yeah, sure, go for walks, but nobody speaks of it in the powerful way that it should be spoken about. And rather, you're given a prescription, and then it's again we're programmed that way to believe the white coat, and to take the pill because that's my that's my way out of this. So I think it's, I guess this speaks to taking your health into your own hands and do your due diligence and really look after your health.
Yeah, and this is, I think, also the beauty of functional medicine and functional nutritionists, I think, which we're both very passionate about. You're addressing root causes. You're asking why, as opposed to when you go see the doctor, they're thinking, okay, this is the diagnosis, and then this is the medication that you need for the diagnosis. But when we ask why, what are the imbalances? Is it related to food allergies or intolerances, environmental exposures? Is it a certain deficiency? Certain deficiencies can trigger, again, hormonal imbalances in your neurotransmitters. So we're always asking why and trying to address it through lifestyle measures. Supplements being just one piece of the puzzle. Looking at everything, Susie, you just mentioned, is so critical as well.
Yeah, indeed.
Can you talk about some of the companion supplements? So you just alluded to the fact that you need to support your vitamin D intake, with magnesium. Can you talk about some of the other supplements that have maybe partners in crime, so to speak, that we should be aware of?
Yeah. So for the vitamin D, it's D3 because there's different forms of vitamin D. There's a D2 and D3. So it's really important to find the D3 and the one that has K2 with it. So it's D3 plus K2. And then what I was saying is that, so we have to understand that the body doesn't function in silos, and so do our nutrients. They don't function separately. Studies that have dissed, let's say, vitamins and minerals have always examined them as, for example, vitamin C on its own. So then they found, high levels of vitamin C can cause certain kinds of, whatever. And the way that our body utilizes and takes in these minerals and vitamins is in combination. It's like a beautifully orchestrated symphony. So if I were to choose how to take my supplements really, or my nutrients, I would start off with the foundational stuff, and I would take them in the form of, and I'm gonna give a recommendation. It's honestly one of my favorite things, and this is what I give my family. This is what I suggest to my clients. It's a greens powder, and it's a greens powder that doesn't deliver to the UAE, but I have it delivered to my shop and ship in the US, and then have that in Athletic Greens. And it's called Athletic Greens, and it's actually a really great insurance policy of getting everything that you need and in the right balance and quantities in order to support the absorption, to go back to your question, in order to support the absorption of these nutrients together. What else do we want to add?
I wanted to add the vitamin D, actually, because you mentioned vitamin D and magnesium, vitamin D, K2, but even having any fat-soluble vitamin like vitamin D, A, K, with a fatty meal. Of course, a healthy fat meal.
Correct.
So, for example, salmon,
almonds,
eggs, nuts. So if you have vitamin D with a fatty-rich meal, that can help absorption. There are some also nutrients, let's say, that can. There are many that work synergistically and complement one another, and that's where, just taking one vitamin, let's say, or one type of mineral, you can never beat having a balanced diet, okay, and getting that synergy of nutrients from a balanced meal. But for example, if you were taking something like iron and calcium will work against one another. So you wouldn't want to take, if you have a iron deficiency, you wouldn't want to take it to the calcium-rich meal, for example. If you take a lot of zinc to promote and boost your immune system, then that can deplete copper. Okay, so there are definitely, even though they are all needed and they are needed in specific amounts, but they could either work together or sometimes work against one another if you are taking them in large doses.
So just to continue with that same theme, I noticed there's a lot of women here for this talk, so can you talk about iron? Because I know anemia is something that can affect women in higher proportion. If there's anything that we should be taking along with that, or how to absorb that better.
I think the form of iron, if I just jump in, you can take it away, but it's the form of iron that's best absorbed and will not create constipation, which a lot of, that's a main side effect of taking iron, is iron bisglycinate. So it's an iron that is attached to an amino acid. It's in the amino acid form of iron. So I think this is an important one. And I think with iron, yes, we do see it with women, but not all women. And I think we do have to test and measure before administering
with iron. It's actually a two-edged sword, because taking too much can actually cause oxidative stress, which can have really negative impact. With iron as well, look, first, testing is one thing, but looking at the person specific, let's say, signs and symptoms. So we're not only treating the paper or what the labs, we have to also treat, let's say, the client and what symptoms relate, let's say, to what we see on paper, right? Now with iron, again, chronic deficiency, we need to look at not only dietary habits, but we need to look at digestive capacity. So for example, an overgrowth of, let's say, SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, and H. pylori, for example, overgrowth of H. pylori in the stomach, can also feed off of this iron. So individuals with chronic anemia, it's just a red flag as to what's happening at the gut level, right?
That there's more going on.
Exactly. And a lot of doctors just look at, let's say, hemoglobin, hematocrit, but always ask for ferritin. Ferritin is the storage form of iron. And sometimes that can be so low. And keeping in mind what differentiates between functional medicine and conventional medicine is what we consider as normal. Sometimes you go and, you do your blood tests and the range is, I don't know, from like 200, let's say B12, 200 to 800. That's such a wide range. But what is optimal, so we always say what's normal is not necessarily what's optimal, and that's a functional medicine, that's a lens. For B12, it's around, let's say, 550, even 600. So the same with ferritin. You want it to be around 50. Too little is, you will struggle with maybe fatigue, looking pale, feeling tired. Too much is also not good, okay? And going back to your question, taking iron, it's important to take vitamin C. Iron-rich foods, of course, usually animal-based foods, red meat, chicken, leafy greens, but taking it with a vitamin-rich food, not taking it with coffee or tea. So if you're used to having your main meal, let's say, or your breakfast or whatnot, with coffee or tea, and you have a history, or you currently have iron deficiency or anemia, just wait on the coffee for about, 90 minutes, 2 hours. And then, because the tannins, let's say in tea or certain anti-nutrients in coffee and tea, can reduce iron absorption, okay? Whereas vitamin C can up.
Awesome question.
So after doing a blood test, getting the results, and starting to use supplements, usually doctors, they give it for 3 months or 6 months, and they know that some can cause toxicity if taken for a longer period of time. How can we, because we cannot repeat the blood test every 2 or 3 months or 4 months, like insurance and everything. So how can someone trust their own body after taking a certain supplement for a certain amount of time, and know that, okay, maybe now it's time for me to stop, or I should take a break, or I can continue without going back to the doctor?
I think I want to highlight that the best way to do this is to go for another blood test, okay, a few months later. But something I like to do with supplements is, first of all, it's so important to come off of them when you're done the therapeutic use of the supplements, if need be. Now, some supplements are, in my life, for example, for longer periods of time, but I always cycle in and out of it. I always allow my body to have a break, gives my liver a break to flush things out a little bit. If we want to know without a shadow of a doubt what is happening and have we absorbed it, were we able to utilize it? We are taking this pill, but were we able to utilize it? Was our gut able to break it down and take it in? Then we do have to test through bloods. Yeah, but also, and as Farah was saying, and I really echo this very strongly, we really have to pay attention to how we feel. It's not just handing our health over, outsourcing it to other people. We really have to believe how we feel. And so often you will go to your practitioner, you will get the blood tests done, and they come back within range. That's super normal. You see this all the time. But once again, it's not the optimal range. See, what conventional lab ranges do is they examine they take like the average of super sick people to very healthy people. So then you fall within that range. I don't want to fall within that range. I want you to fall within the most optimal range for your body, because it's not a matter of, we're not sitting ducks waiting until we're depleted enough till we're diagnosable with a disease. That's not the point here. The point here is to prevent. So our job is to prevent disease from actually taking place. And disease never, ever, well, maybe 0.1% will happen out of nowhere. But usually it's 10 to 15 years in the making. And how was that happening? It's by design, through our own choices every single day. The choices that we made, whether the way that we live and the way that we eat, all of these choices make up our health, really. So our body will never indicate to us, you know, you don't eat a bag of Takis, because my kids eat Takis, and like you don't eat a bag of Takis and like that crap, you know, that's in them, and you don't get sick right away. You don't. Your body will function just fine until it doesn't. And that again can be 10 to 15 years later. So we really have to understand, it's like eating a whole pizza one day. Nothing bad's gonna happen to you. It's like going to the gym for 3 hours one day. Nothing good's gonna happen to you either. You know, it's the cumulative effect of all of these things. So yeah, we wanna support the optimal lifestyle and optimal ranges of things. I forget what the question was. I just went off on a tangent.
No, the
Sorry. What did you ask?
It's about the testing. Yeah, we always say test, don't guess, right?
Yeah.
And I've had clients, you know, I've asked them to, let's say, I've suggested just please take this for, let's say, 2 months, and let's see how you feel. And then, you know, 6 months later, they're still taking. I'm like, but why? Even though there might not have been a necessary, let's say, harm, but I always would rather rotate supplements, and it depends for what purpose that person is taking the supplements. You know, sometimes you want them, let's say, to get off things and try new things and see what works for them. But ultimately, we would prefer that they test, especially if we are treating for a deficiency, because then they might need to be on a maintenance dose as opposed to being, you know, on more of a, let's say, therapeutic dose. Correct. And, you know, just to echo, Susie, what you're saying, it's really the small things that we do every day that make a big difference in terms of our health. So yes, if we were to have that pizza or the Takis or the cake or whatever, it's totally fine.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it's that self-kindness and that self-love, and it's fine. But, you know, if we're doing that every day, then we might have to stop and reflect and see, okay, even if I take excess vitamin C, it's not gonna counteract what I'm eating. So It does have to come from the holistic perspective. Absolutely.
Just have an intro. Thank you, Suzanne and Farah. I just joined maybe on the last quarter of it. I'm Lamisa Plefa, and I'm a physician working in the Public Health Center.
Perfect.
And I previously worked as a hematologist for 9 years. And just going back to the things about tests, I totally agree with, it's not only about the reference range, it's very important on how do you feel now than before, do you feel better or after? And a good physician will always ask you, how do you feel? Have you always been like that? Was it for you? And we'll also check about your family history, because some people familially, they have that kind of, you know, normal iron, but they have a low ferritin, and some, you know, they have some genetic diseases. So this kind of asking is not about just reading results. And again, you will know better about how do you feel. The results is that kind of evidence and support for you. And going back to the supplements, I'm sure you talked about that. The most important is actually the nutrition.
Food,
of course,
yes.
the sources, actually the natural sources. And so those habits that you build in, they will help you. And I think, I don't know if you agree with me, Suzanne or Farah, that there is something in our body and we crave the things that we need actually. So sometimes we miss, like we go to chocolate where we actually need magnesium.
Correct.
Or we go, you know, for some, you know, fast food, and what we really need is some sort of a mineral there. So if you actually listen to your body, you will be able
to get the right food and the right supplements.
Yeah, thank you for that. And we completely agree with you. And we did actually speak about the value of the base, the foundational nutrition and lifestyle, behavioral habits. I think this is key. We can't move forward without that. And I completely agree with you. Yes.
Non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
I have a question about the type of blood test. So for example, if I wanted to now look at my current situation, where I am, what's missing, what's fine, would it be a matter of going to my doctor to say, okay, I just want to get a blood test? Would they order then a complete blood test and check everything, or then would I go through like a third-party company, because I've seen those advertised now as well, both a blood test and get an intensive, I don't know, results of female hormones or intolerances, etc. So where do we start, and how intense does the blood test need to be?
Yeah, I think it would really depend on if you have any issues that you're struggling with, first and foremost, and that's where a thorough and deep assessment has to be done. Whether it's the physician, your integrative healthcare practitioner, your nutritionist, dietitian, it has to be a very comprehensive assessment. And if it's something that you do once a year, then go all out and test your thyroid, a full thyroid panel, not just TSH, which a lot of doctors just do. Liver, kidney, lipid profile, your CBC. So it really has to be a very comprehensive. If it's something you're doing on an annual basis, or maybe I would suggest at least once a year. But then, if someone's struggling, with PCOS or any hormone issues or perimenopause or menopause, then you have to test, but it's not only what do you test, it's when do you test it. So for example, hormones have to be tested at a certain point during the cycle. Whereas if you just test it randomly, you might not necessarily get the right picture. Okay, so where do you start? We're happy to support you, but it really has to be done to make it effective for you. It has to be done based on a thorough assessment to see what you might need. And it's not just the doctor might just test the common, let's say, parameters, but since we are after prevention and finding imbalances at an early stage, then sometimes our list is way longer than that of a doctor. Insurance companies won't be too happy, but if it means picking something up at an early stage, then that's what we want, as opposed to you waiting until you get, the person gets symptoms and then has to take the meds or whatever.
If I can have you guys visualize your insides, and if I can have you put this image of your insides as little vials of nutrients, like little vials of vitamins and minerals, and we need these vials to be filled to the brim. Because remember, everything functions in symphony. So your body's not going to scream at you that your zinc is deficient. It's going to just do its job anyway. It's going to just take things from here and put them there and make sure that it's covering all the bases. So if I get you to visualize that, then one of the best things to do if you're wondering, all right, how do I move forward with my health? What can I do today? How can I change my health status today? Then I'd go back to that, very unsexy, I call it, recommendation, which is work on the foundations of health through, of course, nourishing your body really well. And that's where I throw in the athletic greens, is because it's like that. I'm just making sure my vials are full on the inside, Then beyond that, and of course behavioral modifications, then beyond that, once you have that, and then you examine and then you go to a proper assessment, as Farah was saying, a 90-minute assessment where someone's talking to you for that long, trying to find out what you're feeling. Then we decide what areas we need to examine, because there's, thousands. We can ask thousands of tests that can be done. We're not going to do the 1,000, but so that we know which areas we should focus on. And very often the tests are done in a very abbreviated way. So as Farah was saying about the thyroid, I see this so often where clients are only tested for the TSH. And they're told that, and after I'm assessing them, I'm like, your thyroid's screaming at me. And they're like, no, I tested my thyroid. What did you test? Just a TSH. Well, that doesn't give us anything. A TSH is just a message from our brain to tell our thyroid, produce thyroid hormone. But our thyroid can just ignore that, really, if there's a dysfunction, right? So we need to see, we need to look at things a lot deeper.
Yeah, and you know what? It's important that we take ownership for our own health, because when I go get my thyroid tested, I literally send my doctor the long list of labs that I'd like him to order,
Yes.
because as dietitians and nutritionists, we can only suggest, we can't prescribe, let's say, anything. But so I would ask my clients, please request from your doctor to run, you know, X, Y, and Z, and please insist that your doctor requests these. So I tell him, you know, I ask my doctor, can you please run these? And sometimes he's like, you don't need this.
Yes.
And then I tell him, but I'd like it. So please,
Yes,
if I have
I
to
get
pay for
that
it,
a lot.
it's fine.
Yeah.
But just please, we need to just, you know, take ownership for our own health, and sometimes, you know,
Sometimes
just
argue.
to put it in a nice way, argue.
Sometimes we don't know to ask for as well. That's the
Well, that's it.
Yes, exactly.
Go into your doctor, your gynae, whoever, and
Yeah.
say, I'm not feeling that
Too good.
great, and they'll say, oh, you know what, we'll go and do these tests. Okay, cool, but I wouldn't know that there's actually a whole lot of those tests that we need to do. So I think it's finding a place to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and you know that the field of integrative medicine is really growing, and again, functional medicine, and that's where we, as we mentioned, we dig into the root causes. So I think seeking help from an integrative medicine, and a lot of even, you know, more traditional doctors are starting to incorporate integrative practices into the way that they practice. So really, the field of healthcare, I think, is changing. COVID, I think, was a big wake-up call.
Right.
And, you know, it's no longer just to survive. We need to thrive. So integrative health, and, you know, you need to, this is the doctor that's going to help you and support you. So you really want to do your research, and we're always happy, of course, to provide suggestions, but to do your research and know, okay, this is who I'm going to go see, because I truly believe that this person will help.
What do you guys think about digestive enzymes? Everyone's taking digestive enzymes, and I know that they help because a lot of us have gut problems, but first of all, what do you think of them, and are there issues? Like, can you sort of like hurt yourself by just taking digestive enzymes?
Sure. I like them. I take digestive enzymes, and I prescribe when required, again, like after a thorough assessment. But you can hurt yourself with anything and everything, you know. So if it's not required, and if you're taking stuff like HCl, you know, to increase the acid in your stomach, and you don't need it, you're gonna feel it, you know. But I know that with age, sometimes our digestive enzymes and our stomach acid tends to decrease. And so giving people, so you might be eating the most nutrient-dense food, but you're not able to break it down and digest it and absorb it. So that's where they come in, and I find that it's very helpful in most cases.
On a personal level, I use them quite often, and they really help me, and I found that they do help a lot of my clients. There were some who could not tolerate them. So sometimes it's a matter of the brand, of the dosages, okay? How many pills do you take? Are you taking them just with, you know, like a light meal or a heavier meal? So it can differ, again, from person to person, and this is where, if it works for your friend or your boss's sister's mother-in-law or whatever, then it might not work for you, right? So it's important that we don't get sucked into these messages and these, you know, advertisements and what works for somebody else. It has to come from a trusted professional, but even when it comes from, you know, a trusted professional, sometimes it just does not work for that person. So they can be helpful in the long term. You know, there is a bit of talk about, does your stomach get used to these digestive enzymes? We don't know, but you know, you might need to take them, let's say, kind of for 2 months, maybe straight, for example. But then once your digestive system kind of picks up, you might just need to take them when you have a heavy meal, for example, okay, or occasionally.
Yeah, I think that's where listening to your body comes in. But it's a really big statement when we say listen to your body if you don't know how. So we need that guidance. We need to understand what our good baseline is, and what a healthy me is. What's a vibrant me? Bring you there with the bridge of supplementation. possibly, of course, after the foundations of nutrition and lifestyle modifications. Then we bridge that gap with supplements. Sometimes these supplements are not just a bridge, they are to take you to that next level that you're looking for. And then we can taper off and decide where we are and what we need to continue with and what we need to change. But it's all roads are trying to lead us to better health, a more vibrant existence, opposed to just kind of cruise controlling and not really feeling well. There's a lot of people that are kind of like just on cruise control, not energized, don't feel like doing anything, eating, not feeling good after eating. It's not a good way to live. And then mood disorders kick in, anxiety kicks in, and we don't realize what a huge link there is between our digestive and gut health to those mood disorders. So again, it's like everything is functioning all really connected together, and we can optimize that through diet and lifestyle, plus the assistance of supplementation to get us to a better state of being and living.
Well said. I love that.
How can people find you?
Yeah, go for it.
Maybe you don't want people to find you.
I mean,
No.
we're both available on Instagram. I don't know, is that how people say it these days? But so my Instagram handle is Your Health Guide Susan, and you can reach me there, and then you can DM me, and I can tell you how to contact me. Is that good?
Yeah, sure. I'm Wellness in Colors on Instagram. Actually, I was working at the bridge up until yesterday. It was my last day, sadly. But yeah, just feel free to reach me on Instagram if you want to get talking. I'm happy to share my number as well. I'm sure Susie is. And we're here to support you. It's, we're always all about a multidisciplinary and integrative approach. It's important to really personalize recommendations according to your unique needs, as opposed to just general guidelines, that we read on, I don't know, Instagram.
On Instagram.
Thank you so much.